Everyone is going to tell you to wait. Your neighbor, your accountant, the article you read last Tuesday, the financial advisor who has a poster in his office that says, delay, delay, delay. They're all going to tell you the same thing. Wait until 67, wait until 70, get the bigger check. And I'm here to tell you, for a lot of people, that advice is flat out wrong. Taking Social Security at 62 is not a desperate move. It's not a sign that you failed to save enough. For millions of Americans, it is a deliberate, calculated, financially intelligent decision. And today, I'm going to prove it to you with real numbers, real scenarios, and real talk. No sugarcoating, no one-size-fits-all nonsense. Just the truth about what the math actually says, who benefits from claiming early, and why the conventional wisdom on Social Security is one of the most overconfident pieces of advice in personal finance. Let's get into it. Understanding the system. How Social Security actually works. Before we talk strategy, let's make sure we all understand the mechanics, because most people don't, and that confusion is exactly what leads to bad decisions. Social Security calculates your benefit based on your 35 highest earning years. That number gets indexed for inflation and run through a formula to produce what's called your primary insurance amount, your PIA. That's the benefit you'd receive if you claimed at exactly your full retirement age, or FRA. Now, full retirement age isn't 65 anymore. For anyone born in 1960 or later, full retirement age is 67. That's the baseline. Here's where it gets interesting. You can claim as early as 62, 5 full years before FRA, but your benefit gets permanently reduced. How much? About 30% less than your full retirement age benefit if you were born in 1960 or later. On the flip side, if you delay past FRA all the way to age 70, your benefit grows by 8% per year. So at 70, you'd get roughly 24% more than your FRA benefit. That sounds like a no-brainer to wait, right? And that's exactly where the conventional wisdom stops, because that's all most people hear. But what the wait until 70 crowd never talks about is the break-even point. They never talk about investment opportunity cost. They never talk about health, longevity, or life circumstances. And they almost never talk about what you could do with that money for the 5, 8, or 10 years while you're waiting. That's what we're going to talk about today. The break-even math they don't show you. Let's run the actual numbers, because this is where the conversation has to start. Say your full retirement age benefit at 67 is $2,000 a month. That's $24,000 a year. If you claim at 62, you take a 30% reduction. Your check is $1,400 a month, $16,800 a year. Now, the standard argument is, but if you wait, you get $600 more a month. And that's true, but here's what that argument skips. By claiming at 62, you collect checks from age 62 to 67, 5 full years before the person who waited gets their first dollar. That's $1,400 times 60 months equals $84,000 in your pocket before the late claimer sees a single check. Now the late claimer starts getting $2,000 a month. The early claimer is still getting $1,400. The difference is $600 a month. To figure out when the late claimer catches up, you divide that $84,000 head start by the $600 monthly advantage. $84,000 divided by $600 equals 140 months, equals about 11.7 years. That means the person who waited until 67 doesn't break even until approximately age 78 to 79. Let that sink in. You have to live past 78 or 79 just to break even from waiting. Now, the average American man today lives to about 76. The average American woman lives to about 81. So for a man of average health, taking Social Security at 62 is almost certainly the better financial outcome based on life expectancy alone. For a woman, it's closer, but when you factor in what you do with that money from 62 to 67, the calculus shifts dramatically. And that's exactly what we're going to look at next. The investment opportunity cost. What happens if you invest those checks? Here's the scenario that almost nobody in the mainstream financial media runs for you because it breaks their narrative. What if, instead of spending your Social Security checks from 62 to 67, you invest them? Let's say you're still working, or you have other income, and you don't need those Social Security dollars to live on. You take every $1,400 monthly check and put it into a simple index fund. Over 5 years, 62 to 67, that's $84,000 in contributions. At a modest 7% average annual return, after 5 years, you've got approximately $100,000 sitting in an investment account. Now, your delayed claimer friend finally starts collecting at 67. They have zero in this account. You have $100,000 compounding. Meanwhile, you're both getting Social Security. You at $1,400, them at $2,000. The monthly gap is $600 in their favor. But here's the thing. Your $100,000 is growing. At 7%, that's generating roughly $7,000 a year in growth, which is almost $583 a month in effective return. That nearly eliminates the $600 monthly advantage the late claimer has. And as the years go on and that invested balance grows, the math continues to favor the early claimer who invested wisely. Now, I want to be honest with you. If you spend those early Social Security checks instead of investing them, this argument doesn't hold the same weight. But if you have the discipline and the financial position to invest those early checks, claiming at 62 can be a genuine wealth-building strategy, not just a fallback option. This is the scenario that changes the conversation. The health and longevity conversation. Let's talk about the thing that nobody wants to say out loud, but everybody is thinking. You might not live to 79. I don't say that to be dark. I say it because it's real, it's statistically relevant, and it absolutely should factor into your Social Security decision. And yet somehow in most financial planning conversations, it barely comes up. Here's the reality. If you are 62, you have visibility into your health that no financial model does. You know whether you've had health scares. You know whether your parents lived into their 90s or passed in their 60s. You know whether you're carrying conditions that affect longevity. That information is yours, and it should drive this decision far more than a generic break-even formula. If you have reason to believe your life expectancy is below average, whether that's due to health conditions, family history, lifestyle, or any other factor, taking Social Security at 62 is not just emotionally satisfying. It's mathematically superior. Every month between 62 and your actual death is a month that only the early claimer gets paid. And on the other side, if you are in exceptional health, you come from a long-lived family, you take care of yourself, and you have real reason to expect a long life, then delaying makes more sense. The break-even at 78 or 79 becomes a real possibility, and the higher monthly check matters more. The point is, this decision is personal. It cannot be made with a one-size-fits-all slogan like always wait until 70. Your health is your most important input, and if anyone gives you Social Security advice without asking about your health, they're giving you incomplete advice. The still working trap and how to navigate it. Now here's a wrinkle I want to address directly because a lot of people don't understand this rule and it catches them off guard. If you claim Social Security at 62 and you are still working, there is an earnings limit. In 2026, that limit is approximately $22,320 per year. If you earn more than that before reaching full retirement age, Social Security will temporarily withhold $1 for every $2 you earn above that limit. Now, and this is important, those withheld dollars aren't lost. They get added back to your benefit later, recalculated when you hit full retirement age. But in the short term, it can reduce or even eliminate your check. So if you're 62, still earning a solid income and planning to keep working full-time, the math on claiming early gets more complicated. In that specific scenario, waiting may make more sense, not necessarily until 70, but potentially until you reduce your work hours or stop working entirely. However, if you're 62 and you are retired or semi-retired, working part-time under that earnings threshold, running your own business with flexibility on how you report income, or simply not working at all, then that earnings limit is a non-issue, and the early claiming argument holds full strength. The lesson here, know the rules of the game before you play. The earnings limit is real, but it applies to far fewer people than the financial media implies when they use it to argue against claiming early. The cash flow freedom argument. Let me make a different kind of argument now, one that isn't purely mathematical, but is deeply practical. At 62, most people are entering a major life transition. Maybe you're winding down a career. Maybe you want to travel while your body still lets you. Maybe you want to help your kids or grandkids financially. Maybe you just want options, the ability to work less, choose more, and live more deliberately. Social Security at 62 gives you immediate cash flow, $1,400 a month. $16,800 a year. That's real money that shows up every month and changes what's possible in your daily life. For someone without a massive investment portfolio, that check is freedom. It's the difference between taking the part-time job you actually enjoy versus grinding out full-time work because the bills demand it. It's the difference between taking that trip to see your grandchildren versus putting it off indefinitely because you're pinching every penny waiting for a bigger check at 70. And here's the thing about money and time that nobody talks about enough. $1 at 62 is worth more to your quality of life than $1 at 75. Your energy is higher. Your health is better. Your capacity to enjoy experiences, travel, adventure, activity is greater. Waiting for a larger check at 70 or 72 so you can spend more money when you have less physical capacity to enjoy it is a trade that doesn't always work in your favor. There's a financial version of this principle called time preference, the idea that resources available to you now are inherently more valuable than the same resources later. And when it comes to retirement years, that preference is amplified enormously. The best years of your retirement are often the early years. Social Security at 62 funds those years directly. The spousal strategy, maximizing as a couple. Now, if you're married, this conversation gets a whole layer of strategy added to it. And this is where a lot of couples leave serious money on the table. Here's a powerful strategy that works for many two-income households. The lower-earning spouse claims at 62. The higher-earning spouse delays. Why? Two reasons. First, the lower earner's benefit is already smaller, so the 30% reduction for claiming at 62 represents fewer absolute dollars sacrificed. The loss is minimized. Second, the higher earner's benefit grows significantly with delay, especially towards 70. That matters most for survivor benefit purposes. When one spouse passes, the surviving spouse keeps the higher of the two benefits, so maximizing the higher earner's benefit through delay protects the surviving spouse with a larger income for the rest of their life. Meanwhile, from 62 onward, the household is collecting the lower earner's Social Security check, providing immediate income and reducing the need to draw down savings during the delay period. You're not giving up income while you wait. You're collecting one check and growing the other. This coordinated strategy, lower earner early, higher earner delayed, is one of the most effective Social Security optimization moves available to married couples, and it's vastly underused. Of course, it depends on the specific benefit amounts, age gaps between spouses, and health situations. But if you're married and haven't thought through this layer, it's worth doing the math very carefully, or sitting down with a fee-only financial planner who specializes in Social Security claiming strategies. What about Social Security going broke? I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't address this, because it's the concern that's in the back of a lot of people's minds when they think about Social Security. What if the program isn't there when I need it? What if they cut benefits? Shouldn't I take the money now while I can get it? Here's the honest answer. Social Security's trust funds, based on current projections, face a funding shortfall around the mid-2030s, roughly 2034 to 2036, depending on which projection you use. At that point, if Congress does nothing, benefits could be reduced by roughly 20 to 25%. But here's what history tells us. Congress has never allowed Social Security to default on promised benefits. Every time the program has faced a funding challenge, lawmakers have intervened through tax adjustments, benefit formula changes, retirement age increases, or other mechanisms. The political cost of cutting Social Security for current retirees is enormous, and almost no Congress has been willing to pay it. That doesn't mean cuts are impossible. It means a full elimination is essentially off the table, and a significant reduction for people already collecting is very unlikely. But here's the strategic implication that does apply. If you are 62 today, and you believe there's a genuine risk of benefit cuts in the future, that is actually an argument for claiming now. Lock in your benefit under the current formula. Get years of payments before any potential restructuring takes effect. This isn't fear-mongering, it's rational risk management, and it's one more factor that can tip the scale toward claiming at 62 for people who are concerned about the program's long-term trajectory. The scenarios where waiting actually makes sense. All right, I've been making the case for 62, and I stand by it. But I'd be intellectually dishonest if I didn't lay out the scenarios where waiting genuinely is the right call, because for some people, it is. Scenario 1. You're in exceptional health with long family longevity. If you're 62, in great shape, have parents who lived into their late 80s and 90s, and have every reason to believe you'll live well past 80, the math on waiting gets compelling. The break-even at 79 becomes entirely reachable, and the higher check pays dividends for many years beyond it. Scenario 2. You have other income and don't need the money. If you have a pension, rental income, or a robust investment portfolio that fully covers your retirement expenses, you don't need the Social Security check at 62. In that case, letting it grow at 8% per year through delay is essentially a risk-free guaranteed return, better than most bond yields, and it's worth capturing. Scenario 3. You're the higher earner in a couple with a significant age gap. If you're the high earner and your spouse is significantly younger, delaying your benefit maximizes the survivor benefit your spouse will rely on potentially for decades. The long-term protection that provides may outweigh the short-term income from claiming early. Scenario 4. You're still earning a strong income and the earnings limit applies. As I covered earlier, if you're working full-time above the earnings threshold, claiming early creates complications. It may be simpler and more financially clean to wait until you actually stop or reduce work. The honest truth is this: there is no universally correct answer. What I push back on is the default advice to always wait, given without any analysis of the individual's specific situation. That default is lazy and it costs people money. Your claiming age should be the output of a deliberate calculation, not a gut assumption based on a half-remembered rule. Your action plan: making the decision with clarity. Let's bring this home with a practical framework. Here's how to actually make this decision for yourself. Step 1. Get your Social Security statement. Go to ssa.gov and create an account. Pull your Social Security statement. It will show you your estimated benefit at 62, at full retirement age, and at 70. These are your numbers, not generic examples. Start there. Step 2. Calculate your personal break-even. Take the difference between your age 62 benefit and your FRA benefit. Divide the total you'd collect from 62 to FRA by that monthly difference. That gives you your break-even age. Is it 78, 80, 82? Now honestly assess whether you expect to live past that age. Step 3. Honestly evaluate your health. Not what you hope your health will be, what it realistically is. Family history, current conditions, lifestyle. This input matters more than almost anything else in this calculation. Step 4. Assess your cash flow needs. Do you need the income at 62? Or do you have sufficient income from other sources? If you need it, claim it. If you don't, evaluate whether investing it generates better outcomes than delaying. Step 5. Model the spousal strategy if you're married. Look at both your benefits, the gap between them, and the survivor benefit implications. Consider the lower early, higher delayed approach and run the numbers for your specific situation. Step 6. Consider consulting a fee-only financial planner, not a commission-based advisor with a product to sell. A fee-only planner who specializes in Social Security optimization. 1 or 2 hours of their time could be worth tens of thousands of dollars over the course of your retirement. Here's the bottom line. Taking Social Security at 62 is not a sign of desperation. It's not a mistake. For millions of Americans, people with health concerns, people who need the cash flow, people who can invest those early checks, people who value the freedom of early retirement income. It is the smartest move on the table. The conventional wisdom says, wait. I'm saying, run your own numbers first. Don't let a slogan make a six-figure decision for you. This is your money. You worked for it. You paid into this system for decades. The decision of when to claim it should be yours. Made deliberately, made intelligently, and made based on your life and your math. If this video gave you a new way to look at Social Security, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people find this content when they need it most. Subscribe if you're new here, because every single week we're covering the financial decisions that actually move the needle in your life. No fluff, no scare tactics, just real strategy. And leave a comment. What's your current thinking on when to claim? Are you Team 62, Team 67, or Team 70? I read every single comment and I want to hear where you're at. Take care of your future. Make the decision with your eyes open. And I'll see you in the next one.